All right, let's get into audience questions for the week. David, shouldn't Joe Biden be bragging about the stock market the way Trump did? I don't mean because Joe Biden is actually responsible for the stock market, but because Trump seemed to do well when he bragged about it. I like the way that this question is asked because it's not being asked as a question of whether Joe Biden deserves credit. I mean, as we've talked about before, to some degree, the sort of economic circumstances over which a president has some influence impact the stock market. But the stock market performance alone is often used kind of as a political football. And Donald Trump certainly regularly would talk about how great the stock market is doing when it was up, not when it was down. And many of his followers fell for it. It's really a question of whether politically it would be advantageous for Joe Biden to do it. I think that it's not clear that it would, because Joe Biden's base is so different than Donald Trump's base. Donald Trump's base was disproportionately made up of people who were never involved in politics before, or who were, and they fell for Republican nonsense. So they were like the perfect marks for just hearing from Trump about the stock market. And the Joe Biden base is different. And it doesn't strike me as something that would be so obviously beneficial for Joe Biden to brag about the stock market in the same way that Donald Trump did. Now, that being said, just because you don't have the sort of sycophantic cult of personality cheerleaders on the left that you had on the right around Donald Trump doesn't mean Joe Biden shouldn't talk about the stock market in the context of talking about how we're doing. So certainly Joe Biden should be saying we're vaccinating more than 3 million a day. COVID deaths are down 77%. Cases are down roughly the same percentage. Unemployment is down. We are seeing job creation. Stock market is at record highs, on and up, right? So it's a package overall. But if the question is, should Joe Biden start tweeting about the stock market from a golf course, the way, the caricature of what Donald Trump was doing, I don't think it's what Joe Biden should be doing. One other aspect to why it's important for Biden to talk about the stock market numbers is that you do want to try at least to get the media to put out messages that are advantageous to you. Any president would try to do this. And rather than just leaving it to corporate media to figure out, oh, the stock market's doing well and Joe Biden's president, and we were told that it was going to be a disaster by Trump if Joe Biden were president. Why not? Again, this is sort of like communications and PR. Feed the story to the media in some sense. One other aspect of this, when Donald Trump insisted during the campaign that if Joe Biden wins, your 401ks will be worth nothing, the economy will collapse, unemployment will explode, COVID death will explode, suicides will explode. You won't have windows in buildings. You won't have indoor heating. You won't have indoor cooling. You'll have to flush your toilet 10 to 15 times. You'll have to run your dishwasher 2 or 3 times to get your dishes clean. We knew all that stuff was crazy. But in particular now, Joe Biden talking about what the stock market is doing might be a good way to get media outlets to put more Republicans on the spot and say, you agreed with Trump during the campaign that if Joe Biden were president, this would happen to the market. The market's at record highs. What say you? They would almost certainly retreat to something like, well, Joe Biden has inflated the stock market by, quote, printing money through stimulus, and he wants to do infrastructure, but they'll be on the ropes. And they will have a defense. It'll be a really stupid defense. So the position Joe Biden should take is take credit for turning things around and talk about the stock market as one of many indicators as to how things are continuing to improve. What if you could read 10 books in just one sitting? That's exactly what one of my favorite apps lets you do. It's called Blinkist. And what they do is take thousands of popular nonfiction books. They condense them down into text or audio that you can consume in 15 minutes. Blinkist makes sure that you're getting all of the important core insights from each book. So it's perfect for exploring a book you otherwise wouldn't have time for. If there's a full book you're thinking about buying, you can use Blinkist to get a sample first. Just think how much you can enrich yourself by being able to soak up an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. I recently checked out the book Podcast Marketing Strategy by Daniel Rolls and Kieran Rogers, and so useful, so particularly applicable to what I'm doing. Really recommend it. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.